Hello and welcome to the 8th episode of the second series of the Surrogate podcast. And I'm really excited about this episode because we're going to delve into a topic that I've actually got some questions for myself to answer. So it's quite a personal episode, but I'm really delighted to be joined today by Rachel, a surrogate, and by Beth, who is a nutritionist who supports surrogates as well. I'm going to leave the long introductions to the two of you to give a bit of context, but let's start with you, Rachel. Tell us a bit about yourself and why you're here.
Okay, I am Rachel. I was a surrogate. I gave birth in April of this year. I think this is quite an appropriate episode for me because I was diagnosed for the first time with gestational diabetes. So I have a little bit to say.
And today we're discussing everything about nutrition. So yeah, it's so great to have you here with that lived experience. Beth, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm Beth. I'm a naturopathic nutritionist. I studied at the College of Naturopathic Medicine. Been practicing about 5 years, and my speciality is fertility. So I've been on my own fertility journey, which ended in IVF, and I now have a 7-year-old boy.
Oh, amazing! Congratulations.
So thank you. So been supporting my surrogacy journey for about a year or so now, just to try and help surrogates in different ways, whatever touch points they need help on their journey, really nutritionally.
Amazing. So we've got quite a range of experience here. And obviously I'm also pregnant and on a journey of my own. I'm quite a sort of interested in foodie person. As a doula, I do quite a lot of kind of advising people on what they eat, what they're taking, how they can connect into kind of better health in terms of what they're taking on board in their body. So I think 3 people with really different insights. Where do we start? So Rachel, for you on your journey as a surrogate, where did nutrition sort of first come up in your thinking?
It was when I did that beautiful glucose oral test in January-ish, yeah. To be fair, I didn't really want to do the test, but I went for it. And within an hour of having that orange liquid, my head was going. I felt like I was going to pass out. So I was like, sugar.
For our listeners, just tell us what this test is for and how it goes down. Because
So you have this orange, very, very sugary drink. It's about, is it 75 grams of sugar drink? It tastes horrific. You would never, ever, ever have in one meal anyway. And then they do a blood test before that, and then they do a blood test 2 hours after. It varies though, depending on trusts. And it depends what your glucose levels come out as to whether you have gestational diabetes. It was a complete curveball because I didn't have this in my 2 previous pregnancies. Although my second baby was quite bonny. She was 10 pound, 3.5 born. But yeah, so it was never something that I'd come across. So because I was classed as quite high risk anyway, I was a little bit older, geriatric.
We don't like that word. We're saying it very much in tongue in cheek, but and my BMI was bang on the 30. So it was classed as a higher risk pregnancy anyway. But now with gestational diabetes on top, the hospital was like, "Oh no, we have to do lots more." So I had lots of consultations, lots of finger pricking, an hour after of food. I did so much research.
Okay.
So much research. I upped my protein, lowered my carbs, cut out grapes because apparently they're sugar bombs, cut out chocolate, cut out toast. Just some of the really, really nice things. But I discovered some great food combinations.
Yeah.
Like halloumi and pepperoni pita bread.
Excellent.
Beautiful.
This episode is going to make me hungry. That's what's going to happen by the end.
So yeah, I managed to stay diet controlled. I didn't have to go on any medication.
Okay.
To control my diabetes and my glucose spikes. I did that all through the food that I was eating. So yeah, it was a massive curveball in the pregnancy journey.
We're going to come back to some of the detail around that. Beth, give us your expert insight. When should pregnant people, surrogates, be beginning to think about nutrition? What does that look like?
I mean, obviously for you, the curveball sort of kick-started that, but if we're going to talk ideals, as early in the journey as possible.
Pre-pregnancy?
Absolutely. Yes.
Talk to us about that.
Yeah, I mean, obviously there's different touch points in this journey, isn't there? Because you've got the intended parents, their eggs, their sperm, and sperm regenerates every 3 months. So actually for men have it easier. As always, no, I'm only joking. We can start working on sperm, with a shorter window, but eggs, we're born with our eggs. Yeah. So, there is that sort of more fragile, to the egg. It's a fragile thing. Sure. We can optimize it as early as possible. Yeah. But of course, these things don't always come up. So when somebody finds out they're pregnant, then of course, then fantastic. Let's start optimizing for the pregnancy then. Obviously, it's all about making sure we eat enough protein. The amount of people I speak to, women who just are not eating enough protein. Yeah. It's actually really hard to hit your daily protein intake. And I can talk from my own experience here. When I started on my sort of, I'll probably talk a bit more about my journey in a little while, but it was an IVF. It was a 3-year journey to get pregnant, which ended in IVF. And I started some acupuncture to sort of try and, calm my body down. And acupuncture, as we know, can help with falling pregnant and staying pregnant. And the Chinese medicine doctor that I went to see, I was sort of sitting there quite smug saying, I eat this, because he asked me about my diet. And he was sort of going, right. And I thought, yeah, this is good. And afterwards he was like, no. And it's so, and this, when I studied naturopathic nutrition, the way we're trained is that every person is individual. Yeah. Okay. And that is, I'm really hot on that. So what might be right for you, Rachel, wouldn't necessarily be right for me or you. And that's the way I work with my clients, is I talk about that person. Okay. I go into realms of history. I want to know everything about you. People say, why do you need to know about my poo? Because it's really important for me to know. Yeah. It sounds ridiculous, but to know about gut health, to know about family history and all your medical history and everything, I'm like a health detective. So the more information I have, the more I can help to understand that person and get them to their optimal health. That's what I'm really passionate about.
That's incredible. And I think it's funny, isn't it, as kind of people on fertility journeys and surrogates, you assume in many ways, what a healthy diet is, but actually that what I've learned myself in my journey with nutrition over pregnancies and non-pregnancies is actually there's more to it than this. It isn't just a case of your 5 a day. It's not just a case of, take a few supplements. It's also about how bioavailable those things are to your body and what levels of protein you maybe need. On my journeys, it's come to light that I've got my thyroid likes to play up when I'm pregnant, and I'm completely asymptomatic of that, but actually then beginning to go like, oh, what does that mean? What does that mean in relation to proteins and amino acids and all these things that you're just like, completely new world. So Rachel, what was your relationship with food and diet like before?
I was quite healthy. Yeah. I was going to gym, I was exercising, so my protein intake was quite high anyway. I didn't realise that it needed to be higher. I mean, I was getting about 100 grams a day, but I was like, actually, no, it needs to be a bit higher. But trying to get that protein in your diet is really tough. I don't think I've ever eaten so many eggs and cheese, massive chicken fillets that you struggle to eat them because they were just so big. But, you needed to really up that protein. And I think looking at, what you buy in the supermarkets on a daily basis, the amount of processed food, it's huge. You get all these protein bars and fortified with protein and extra fibre. None of it's actually really any good strong yet. It's just a bit of a number, but it's all processed. It's not the natural form. Yeah. It's quite scary what we do put in our bodies. Actually, we think that's okay.
So Beth, baseline then, based off what Rachel's saying there, because that's really, really insightful, I think, for people to go, oh, things that are labelled a certain way maybe aren't actually what they are. What's the baseline? What should people on a fertility journey who are planning to be carriers, so whether that's their own embryo that they're carrying or whether they're a surrogate, what should they eat? How should they look after themselves?
Well, protein-wise, the general rule is 1 gram of protein per kilogram body weight. Yeah. But again, I don't like to throw that out there too, rigidly. The word, because again, if I'm working with somebody on a one-to-one basis, they might need slightly more, for whatever health reasons. But yeah, I just think trying to eat whole foods, I'm totally on board with what you said, Rachel. It's this whole, I'm not against veganism or anything like that, but I just think we need to be really mindful that there's these popularity kind of diets out there. Being vegan has suddenly become a big thing, and gluten-free, and people say to me, well, should I be gluten-free? Well, no, you shouldn't be gluten-free unless you have an issue with gluten.
Yeah.
So let's not make issues for issues' sake. And I think and I teach my clients exactly like you said, Rachel, to read food labels, and a lot of the testimonials I get from my clients, they'll go, my life has changed in the sense of I shop differently. I am looking at what's in there. If you ask a lot of people, well, they'll say, I eat these vegan sausages. Well, what are they made of? Oh, I don't know. They're vegan. Well, but what's in them? What is in them? Let's talk about this.
Swamping your body in loads of soy that you actually then can't.
Right. This is it. And people go, oh, right. And it's just not on people's radars. But that's what I love, is that I can make these significant switches in people's lives, that their life will never be the same. They will always shop differently, even when they're not pregnant anymore. They will then have these sort of, I guess these wins, these easy things they can do on a day-to-day basis to keep themselves healthy. Yeah. Their whole lives change with it. And I love to pass on that. That's another thing with the way I was trained, is that we educate and empower our clients. I love passing on the information that I learned. Yeah. Amazing. I love to do that. So yeah, I think eating a well-balanced, just to be really, really basic, is having enough protein on your plate, carbs that aren't empty, carbs that are slow releasing carbs, that are, and plenty of vegetables. We need antioxidants, we need fruits and veg. The amount of people that don't eat any fruit or veg. And I get it, some people don't like it, but it's like when you're trying to get your children to eat, there's ways of packing in fruit and veg into food. Be smart, I always talk about people, when people come to me, even if they're not pregnant, they'll sort of go, oh, I'm working with a nutritionist now. You're going to tell me I can't do this and I can't do that. And the first thing I say is, it's not about what we're taking away, it's what we're adding. Yeah. Let's focus on what we're adding and what we're going to nourish you with, and easy wins like putting some chia seeds into a smoothie that you weren't putting in before, that are going to give you extra fiber and extra fats and protein. Like it's that smug feeling of, oh, I know what I've done today. I've really helped myself.
Yeah. What about I'm really hearing whole foods. That's going in. What about alongside that? Because I know, for example, me, when I was beginning to prepare, I started taking folic acid. What do you advise in terms of supplements and what people should be taking?
So it's really difficult for me as a professional to talk about supplements because it's a very individualised thing.
Sure.
But of course, even if you just Googled it, as I'm sure you know, it's folate, it's CoQ10, it's vitamin D, it's, in the diet, making sure the protein's there, making sure, there are these tick box. But again, unfortunately, it's a really hard question for me to answer because there's, there are minimums that you should be doing, but some people might need more. This is why I do love to do testing, because
so would you test with your clients and go, this is what you need to be testing?
Ideally, because obviously living in the UK, we don't get a lot of sun. The majority of people are vitamin D deficient. Yeah. So, it's a case of let's get these levels optimized, And another thing I like to be clear on with supplements is that, unfortunately, a lot of and it's about education and it is about budget. This is a hard thing as a nutritionist because I like people to take clean supplements from brands that I trust and have been through my nutrition journey, taken myself, seen the results. Unfortunately, a lot of people are buying them off the supermarket shelves. Yeah. And I'm sure you'll agree, there are a lot of fillers. There are the levels in there, are small. So you might be getting a little bit of a benefit, but I'm going, we need more. Yeah, yes, we need more. And of course, I would always love to get everything through diet. I'm food first. I'm naturopathically trained. Food is medicine for me. But in something like pregnancy, we do need extra. Yeah, we want to be optimal. We don't want to be okay. We want to be, we're on form. Yeah. And actually in the last, let's go 5-6 years, the supplement industry for reproductive health has just exploded, hasn't it? You can't go on any kind of social media without being advertised this or this or this and this, and actually understanding what your body needs is getting way more complicated than it is easy.
Rachel, in huge admiration for the fact that you managed a condition that can be really quite challenging for people throughout pregnancy, and you managed that through diet. How's that changed your relationship with food now for you and your family?
I've never had so many chia seeds and flax.
I saw you smile when Beth mentioned chia seeds. Talk to us about your seeds.
Literally everything I can put them in. So chia seeds, flax seeds, whole almonds. I never liked an almond in my life. It's now my evening snack. Just seed mix, anything, whatever they go in, even salads and
still now you've carried that into your eating habit postnatally and after the birth. Yeah.
Watching what I have, like carb wise as well. I'm not having like a full jack potato. I might have half of it, but load it with a bit more tuna or something instead. So, making sure that protein is higher than the carbs. But yeah, just changing what I eat really has really, really helped. Fresh fruit, more of it. And fresh fruit, fresh veg.
Yeah.
Fresh as well.
Fresh and whole. Check your supplements. I'm getting all the key points here for our listeners. I think the other key thing to really bring into this episode and something that very much relates to my experience is the importance of movement. So nutrition isn't just what we're putting into our bodies, it's also like how we're moving and how we're staying healthy. I've worked as a pregnancy yoga teacher for years and years and years, so like that movement practice alongside our own pregnancies. And Rachel, hats off to you, because you've got a really specific form of movement that you enjoy doing. Talk to us about your well-being and how you both during pregnancy and postnatally manage that.
I love weightlifting. Swimming as well.
Not just weightlifting, like extraordinarily heavy weightlifting.
Yeah, my previous PB before pregnancy was 115 kilo deadlift.
I know. For our listeners, me and Beth are just both sat here but looking shocked, like.
And back squat, I think, was 110 kilo. But yes, I managed to get to 100 kilo at 18 weeks post-pregnancy as well. So
did that just all totally stop during pregnancy? Obviously, this is lifting.
Stop. But I stopped lifting heavy. I continued going to the gym 3 times a week, but doing movements that were more functional. That wouldn't affect me all whole pregnancy.
Yeah.
In both of my previous pregnancies, I got what was called SPD, but it's now called PGP, pelvic girdle pain. I didn't get it in this pregnancy.
Oh, okay, interesting.
Which was quite interesting because I was at the gym more, I was moving more, I was swimming at least twice a week, doing a minimum of 40, 50 lengths each time. So movement, especially with gestational diabetes, really went hand in hand.
Yeah.
The more you move, the more goodness you put into your body and the more exercise you do will only make things better.
Absolutely. And you've named some really, really good ones in there in terms of, kind of longer walks and swimming in particular. Beth, what do you recommend to people? How do you talk to people about that other side of the nutrition?
I always say keep doing what you've been doing. If you're a horse rider, then, and you want to keep horse riding, the risks, you're carrying a child. But these are the things that people love to do. I'm very big on, when I work with my clients, on emotional well-being and, getting into that pre-birth mindset and the calm and all of that. So I think, just walking in nature, like people say, oh, I've never worked out what I should be doing. Go for a walk in nature. Yeah. Being in nature is the best thing you can do for your mind and your body and your baby. So, breathing, just doing some meditative breathing, just slowing down, because life is always so busy, but if you've always gone running, go running. Don't stop doing the running. But I think people panic and go, oh, I should now be doing this. Actually, you could do yourself more damage. So
just make sure you wear a supportive bra.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So I think it's just being really mindful that even doing 2 or 3 30-minute walks a week in nature is still going to be beneficial, And
I think also understanding that it energizes you. There's often in pregnancy journeys, it's accompanied by a lot of tiredness. and fertility journeys when you're on all of that medication can kind of bring about this like level of exhaustion to your body, and understanding that relationship with movement actually energizes you rather than making you more tired. That doesn't mean that you need to be out, running 10K at 20 weeks pregnant or what have you if you weren't doing that beforehand. But I know now for me, I've got a little dog, and actually going out and walking the dog, as much as I don't want to do it, I want to stay in and have a duvet day, but actually just going out and moving my body does then result in a day where I feel more energized, rather than this reliance that other people maybe have on kind of caffeine pickups, what have you, like movement. And in terms of birth preparation and everything you need for your pelvis, particularly if you're planning a physiological or vaginal birth, all of that opening, it starts early on in pregnancy. You need to be kind of working in that way. So, okay, I'm aware of time. It's been amazing to hear what we've heard so far. Key takeaways. So, Beth, talk us through someone on a fertility surrogacy journey. What do they need to think about? What are the key takeaways?
I'd definitely say, look at your protein. It's the classic. Protein is the foundation. It is the building blocks of a baby. That is really, really key. I think the supplement side of things as well, you well mentioned there about social media. It is overwhelming, so overwhelming. We're being thrown, you should be taking this, you should be. Bear in mind that too much of a good thing is also not a good thing.
Sure.
Don't just shove a load of supplements down you. Let's be mindful of, we could just need a really good pregnancy multivitamin and some omega-3, and then we do the rest through diet. So, it's going to sound like I'm trying to sell myself, but I do think it's really important to get professional knowledge. The NHS obviously do a job, and the doctors and the GPs and the nurses do a job, but actually to talk to somebody like myself who's trained in that arena and specialises in that area, fertility, pregnancy, etc., can really be beneficial, because then you can rest knowing that you are doing the right thing. Yeah, of course, not everybody can afford that, but I think just being mindful not to just buy any old stuff.
That actually the money that you might spend on a session with you or a couple of sessions with you will probably save you further down the line in the supplements that you buy that aren't actually doing anything for you at all. And we're really, really grateful for your expertise in my surrogacy journey as well. I know you've supported a lot of people on journeys here. So, Rachel, key takeaways?
Eat well, move more, and listen to your body. Your body will tell you if you're tired. It will tell you. So, just be mindful of what's going on inside your body. If you need a bit of sleep, go and get some sleep. If you need to be re-energized, go for a walk. But continue what you're doing mainly until your body says, oh, hold on, that swim was a bit too much. Or that weight was a bit too much.
Thank you. Both really, really, really good and insightful things. I think from a surrogate point of view, I feel really keen to say to our listeners, just like movement and nutrition are your responsibility as a surrogate, and kind of making sure that you pay attention to it. Don't just go naively into these pregnancies thinking like, I can just eat whatever I want. It's an opportunity to eat more or what have you. But actually that movement and nutrition will make you feel so much more in control of your own health and your own journey. And ultimately from a surrogate point of view, I'm so invested in your recovery afterwards that getting nutrition nailed and movement nailed throughout your journey is really, really key. What a pleasure to have you both here. Thank you so much for sharing all of your expertise. And I know we'll be sharing your contact details, Beth, in the notes as well for people who want to get in touch. But thanks for that, and thank you for listening. If this episode touched you and you'd like to find out more about my surrogacy journey and our completely unique surrogate membership, please head over to our website, www.mysurrogacyjourney.com, or follow us online on Instagram at official My Surrogacy Journey. If you love this episode, then please subscribe to the series, because we're going to have episodes coming out weekly. We can't wait for you to tune in and follow us. Thanks for listening.